Hello, everybody. I'm Mark, poet with a guitar. I'm from DC, and tonight the Poets reacts to a poem that one of us is crazy about and has sent to us to just react to. And I'm joined by my esteemed panel of wonderful poets and commentators. And let me introduce Marrisa.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy we have a special guest host with us tonight. So Nick P is in the house. I know I'm supposed to introduce myself, and I had to give that shout out, right? Nick P is here tonight. All right, thank you everyone for being here at the Poets Reacts with the Poetry Global Network. As you know, we have a new format the next couple of weeks. We're going to be bringing poems that we love to share with you all. And if this glare keeps going on my glasses, I will take them off, I promise. But make sure, please, that you use the chat, put questions, comments, interact with us in the chat. And remember, if you're going to be doing artwork alongside Kemlyn tonight, we ask that you, if you want to share, put it in the chat. We would love to post it. We want to see what you come up with as she's creating things as well. Nick P, what's up with you?
Well, I just came up with a performance off of Inspired Word NYC out in New York City, so I was just coming off of that right there. Let me get into who I am, though, real quickly, besides my performances. I am Nick P. Logos, poet, spoken word artist, cosplayer, a.k.a. Halloween is the Christmas time for cosplayers. And I have a book coming out that is called Ad versus Reaction in the Winter of 2021. I also am a host on pretty much almost any show you could think of at this point. At this point, it started as an Infinity Gauntlet, became an Infinity Belt. Now it's becoming an Infinity Vest at this point. So it's pretty so you're probably going to see me host a bunch of other shows at some point. If you want to check me out and everything like that, the real Nick P on IG and everything, you can see my works, photos, that sort of thing. Don't stalk me though, please.
No stalkers. Just make sure you like, share, subscribe, and follow to everything here at the Poetry Global Network and the Poets Reacts. Kemlyn, how are you doing tonight?
Hi everyone. I'm Kemlyn, your Arizona-Singapore connection. I am a multidisciplinary artist hailing from the Southwest. So excited to have our friend Nick joining us tonight. Go ahead and tonight I get to share one of my favorite poets. So please send in the poem.
They used to publicly execute women in your town, the ones they considered too strange or dangerous to exist. 7 women, 2 villages, Hadley, Leigh-on-Sea, and Essex, villages whose names stopped being legends the night I took a train to your house. In my version, I say I liked how you moved at the open mic, and you tell me you have a 20-page novella about 17th century witch hunts. In your version, I was the cute but stuck-up Chinese girl who never got around to reading it. In our version, you tell me we could be space opera art terrorists. If I would just sit in your room and write with you, maybe let you align my chakras for me. You gave me a potion too new for a name in exchange for 3 hours of stories of tiptoeing around joss sticks and ghost toilet suicides and that one girl at my school who got possessed. Because I knew that if we kept talking, we wouldn't have to do anything else. In your town, they had special words for women whom they thought had too big a sense of adventure. They said they had extra nipples, killed cows, ruined harvests, dangled them off trees, built churchyards around them that you would one day sit in and wait until they told you where they lived and then started to dig. And I told you, where I come from, we don't fuck with spirits like that. I said, where I come from, they call that asking for it.
Yeah.
My mother thought you were sweet. You said, I think she has a crush on me. I said, nah, she thinks your hair's too messy. You said, that bitch.
Let's go.
Magic. We screamed poems over the tombs of famous poets, turned London into our holy grail labyrinth, every street name a clue, every ancient statue a symbol, slept in the ruins of haunted castles, summoned a ghost you'd read about on Wikipedia called Rhinex Sally. I said, I don't really know how I feel about this. You said, but we have to write down her story. You said, come on, tell me another myth from your country. So I let you push my head underwater, let you laugh when I gagged, told you of a woman who jumped from the 5th story in a red dress, a red thread tied to her wrist. You always supposed that those 15th century witches would have laughed at how safely you lived. You would have told them that your bedroom contained enough potions and powders to have you put away in a cage for years. Except that you are a nice white boy who got his highs legal off the internet. You, your body, your own invisible force field of safety. So you were forced to guinea pig yourself with chemicals to feel brave. Camped out in haunted castles, laughed at no trespassing signs to convince yourself that you were truly free. All I needed to do was to show up at your house alone to look reckless and foolhardy. Because if they found my body in your trash can, who would have believed I was just there to sit and take drugs and write poetry?
Oh my God.
You wanted visions, talking spirits, Eastern wisdom, gods with hard to spell names, prayers you could barely pronounce, and one more Asian girl to teach English to. And I wanted legends, witches, Mayan calendars, ancient ruins in side streets, magic between gray clouds and greasy fish and chip shops, something medieval, something profound. But what did I expect? We both came from towns built on the bones and half-forgotten stories of dead girls, dug them up to make ourselves sound more interesting, continued listening long after they stopped rotting. So we shackled ourselves together, drank enough potions to believe we had wings, recited enough spells to take the myths in one another's mouths, held hands and threw ourselves off cliffs to find something at the bottom worth writing about. But instead, we found human flesh. Your last email about how I was a hypocrite, shaving my head, but still acting like such a girl. Act exactly how I had taken advantage of you, demands for that money, for that jumper of yours I had lost, writhing and kicking, trembling and gasping, and a sea too shallow to swim in.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Kemlyn. I want to hear that again. She's a New Zealander. She's probably originally from Japan, but she lives in Australia and New Zealand, or no? Is she Singapore? Poet?
Could be England too. You know,
she reminds me of the Kiwis. I don't know. She's got that vibe. Mother, lover. It didn't stop. It did not stop. The first line, the opening line, it just. What? Oh my God. She's from Singapore. What year? That was recent. The Right About Now. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
She's pretty awesome.
Oh my God. And it's pretty much everyone's insecurity balled up into, this performance.
So I'll let you guys react to it first, and then I'll tell you why.
I mean, well, for me, it's an interesting kind of a combination because I really do enjoy this new generation of performance style poetry because it's changed a lot, over the. Here's the place right now where I think it's being presented, and the poetry kind of reminds me of, it's like stand-up poetry as opposed to stand-up comedy. I mean, the purpose of stand-up comedy is to make people laugh, right? So the purpose of stand-up poetry is to make people, get people involved in a poem. And I think she does that very, very well. But it's a very narrative kind of poem. I think it just kind of tells us everything. It doesn't leave much to my imagination. That's kind of the purpose of it, I think, and that's good. It's almost like lyrics in music. There's a big argument and a whole big conversation all the time of whether lyrics in songs are poetry. Of course they're poetry, but they're different kind of poetry because they have to have certain, in order to make it successful in a song, so that you can repeat it. It can't all be that crazy and abstract. Other words, it usually doesn't work. Other than David Bowie or something. But you know what I mean. So
I definitely would have liked
great performance poetry, a great performance poet, but I'm not sure if I was reading it. I think she was reading prose, by the way. I was looking at the book she had. I don't think it was a poem. I think it was just written as prose.
Yeah.
And I think that she read it kind of as prose. So, I like it on the level that she presented it. Okay, let me put it that way. Because I'm more of a page poet type dude, but that's cool because I'm open to it. And that's what I'm learning here at Poetry Global Network, is how to appreciate performance poetry.
It would have been it. No, you're right, Mark. It would have been nice if there was a way to pull us into an unknown place. There was a lot happening. there was like drinking from a fire hose a little bit, in the sense that I was like, which direction is she going with? But if you choose to pick the direction of, I think she's in love with me, I just kept talking because then nothing else would happen. If you kind of take that direction, and it's the interactions between two poets, writing poetry, I sure would have liked to find out if that would have become more, if that would have become. Would it have become friends? Would it have become something more? What was the poem that was written out of it? Was this what was written? Was this the collaboration? Is this two people, two poets undressing in front of one another, metaphorically undressing in front of one another in their words, and sharing one another and finding themselves fused, if you will, in between the lines? I would have liked to see them stitch together and kind of form like a cohesive story, or even leave it up to the reader at the end to say, maybe this is the story.
I just want to, just before the rest, it kind of devoid a little bit of metaphor for me. And metaphors to me, what makes poetry. In your poems, Marrisa, you fill them with metaphors. And so you're able to, this like that, and the metaphor becomes the reality. So here, I think I'm just lacking a little in metaphor. But anyway, Kem or Nick?
Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to say, I felt like there was the phrase that was used a little earlier, it says drinking from a fire hose. I felt I was drinking from an ocean.
Yeah.
It was like an ocean. It was like a lot of it just being thrown my way, and I'm like, whoa, like I need to like kind of like grab onto the lines and like just try to figure out, just because there's a lot that's going on and everything with that. I enjoyed it as the performance, and I felt that if I had the page in front of me, I would have been like, oh, I actually see where this poet's going with that and everything. Like I would have been like, oh, I can get that, because my mind takes a little time to process everything. And now that I've had a little bit more time to digest it, it's more now. I felt it was good in terms of performance. I don't know. It's just it's interesting. It's a very interesting piece. I think it was also read like prose too as well, like what Mr. Fishbein had said. I believe, is that correct? You said that.
Chancellor.
Excuse me, Chancellor.
The Chancellor.
Chancellor.
Oh my gosh, Kemlyn.
It's one of the few times that I don't actually watercolor, because it was more like an inundation of words and imagery. And one thing I love about Steph Dogfoot.
Even that's so. Let me see it again. That's so cool. Yeah, as you're talking, sorry.
I love that.
Wow.
It was very feminine and very feminine forward, and dealt with a lot of things that us women think about it, especially I would think, Kemlyn, in the Asian American communities. It was a mind-blowing performance. She is amazing. If her pronouns are she. But this poet was amazing. I enjoyed thoroughly the performance. Thank you, Kemlyn, for bringing it to us.
So this is a poem by Steph Dogfoot. They hang witches here, don't they? And what I love about Steph is that she is like me. She has studied abroad. So we are both from Singapore, and I came to the United States, and Steph studied in the United Kingdom. But what I love about Steph's work is that she collages so many images and so dense words, and what makes it poetic for me is she's not telling us a nice story. She's bombarding us with images and words, and we are asked as the viewer to collage them together, to find meaning in that collage. And that's where the magic happens for me. It's that she's throwing a lot of images that I identify with, because I am a person living in diaspora, and also the images that she caught from another, obviously the speaker and the person that she's referencing, and the almost a culture shock. The clash of cultures. How do we, from two different spaces and places, find that common ground? And it's a very human experience. I mean, do we end up, if we don't get along, do we burn each other?
I thought thought it was very American for her to talk about burning witches because of what's happened in our history, right? In the U.S. and the concept of burning people at the stake for practicing witchcraft and all of that. So I thought that was an homage, to even what's happening currently in this world with women, with women's rights, with a lot of the feminist movements. Her little blurb about the fish and chip shop. That's why I was like, that's what made me think she was a Kiwi or a Kiwi transplant, because she was talking about fish and chip shops. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would love to see another one of her performances.
There's a lot of good witch poetry around. I think Annie Finch has a whole anthology of poetry of modern American witchcraft.
It is almost Halloween, Mark Fishbein.
Yes, I think it's really exciting to have another piece that is fitting of Spooky Month, October.
Yeah.
And thank you all for responding to one of my friends. I really enjoy her.
I would love to meet her. Let's go to Singapore. I want to meet her.
She's amazing.
She's still in Singapore?
Yes, and she runs a lovely open mic called Spoke and Bird. And yes, and she's
if it's ever virtual, Kemlyn, take me, please.
Yes, and she's also read for Planet Poetry 28. So
has she been there?
Yep.
I've been in almost every one. What?
Next time.
Next time.
All
right. So that I think we're winding down the clock here tonight, but thank you all so very much for joining us. Kemlyn, thank you for the amazing pick again. Thank you for our guest host, Nick Bailey and Logos with us tonight. We're
Thank you very much, Nick.
Nick P drops by. We know he's going to get paid. Instead of being Fishbein, we're going to be Paleologos, and that is totally okay with me. I love that. Please, everyone, make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow to everything that we do with the Poetry Global Network, as well as the Poets Reacts. Make sure you watch all of our shows. There's a lot of shenanigans coming up, and like we said in the beginning, we're going to be bringing our own favorite poems to react to you with all of you. And as we're reacting live, most of us don't know what we're reading, watching, or hearing. So we hope that you do take action with your pen so that maybe someday we will be reacting to your poem. Goodbye, everybody.
Peace.